I'm reading from the AMPC Bible, and Luke is in the New Testament of the Holy Bible. And this is the AMPC, which is the Amplified Bible. So I start Luke 20. One day, as Jesus was instructing the people in the temple, some people call it porches, and preaching the good news, and the good news is the gospel, the chief priests and the scribes came up with the elders. The elders are members of the Sanhedrin, and said to him, "Tell us by what sort of authority you are doing these things." The things they're talking about is Jesus healing the sick and casting out demons and devils. It goes on, "Or who is it who gave you this authority?" Jesus replied to them, "I will also ask you a question. Now answer me. Was the baptism of John the Baptist, was it from heaven or from men?" And they argued and discussed it and reasoned together with themselves, saying, "If we reply and say from heaven, he will say, 'Why then did you not believe him?' But if we answer from men, all the people will stone us to death, for they are long since firmly convinced that John the Baptist was a prophet." So they replied that they did not know from whence it came. Verse 8. Then Jesus said to them, "Neither will I tell you by what authority I do these things." Verse 9. Then he began to relate to the people this parable. The parable goes like this. This story to figuratively portray what he had to say. He said, "A man planted a vineyard and leased it to some vine dressers and went into another country for a long stay." And these words are also found in Isaiah 5 verses 1. Now, verse 10. When the right season came, he sent a bondservant to the tenants that they might give him his part of the fruit of the vineyard. But the tenant beat, trashed him, and sent him away empty-handed. Verse 11. And he sent still another servant. Him they also beat, trashed, and dishonored, and insulted him disgracefully, and sent him away empty-handed. Verse 12. And he sent yet a third. This one they wounded and threw out of the vineyard. Then the owner of the vineyard said, "What shall I do? I will send my beloved son. It is probably that they will respect him." Verse 14. But when the tenants saw him, they argued among themselves, saying, "This is the heir. Let us kill him, so that the inheritance may be ours." Verse 15. So they drove him out of the vineyard and killed him. What then will the owner of the vineyard do to them? He will come and utterly put an end to those tenants and will give the vineyard to others. When they, the chief priests and the scribes and the elders, heard this, they said, "May it never be." Verse 17, but Jesus looked at them and said, "What then is the meaning of this that is written?" I turn the page. The very stone which the builder rejected has become the chief stone of the cornerstone. These words are also found in Psalms 118, verses 22. Now I go to verse 18. Everyone who falls on that stone will be broken in pieces, but upon whosoever it falls, it will crush him and scatter him as dust. These words are also found in Isaiah 8, verses 14, and it is also found in Daniel 2, verses 34. Now I go to verse 19. The scribes and the chief priests desired and tried to find a way to arrest him at that very hour, but they were afraid of the people, for they discerned that he had related this parable against them. Verse 20, so they watched for an opportunity to ensnare him and sent spies who pretended to be upright, honest, and sincere, that they might lay hold of something he might say. So as he turned him over to the control and authority of the governor. Verse 21, they asked him, "Teacher, we know that you speak and teach what is right, and that you show no particular to any one, but teach the way of God honestly and in truth." Verse 22, is it lawful for us to give tribute to Caesar or not? Verse 23, but he recognized and understand their cunning, and unscrupulously, and said to them, "Show me a denarius, which is a coin," and said, "Whose image and inscription does it have?" They answered, "Caesar." Verse 25, Jesus said to them, "Then render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God." Verse 26, so they could not in the presence of the people take hold of anything he said to turn it against him. But marveling at his reply, they were silent. Also, there came to him some Sadducees, those who say that there is no resurrection. And they asked him a question, saying, "Teacher, Moses wrote for us a law that if a man brother dies leaving a wife and no children, the man should take the woman and raise up offspring for his brother. These words are also found in Deuteronomy 25:5. Verse 29 now. Now there were 7 brothers, and the first took a wife and died without having any children. And the second, and then the third took her, and in all manner, all 7 they died, leaving no children. Verse 32. Last of all, the woman died also. Now, in the resurrection, whose wife will the woman be? For the 7 married her. Verse 34. And Jesus said to them, the people of this world and present age marry and are given in marriage. But those who are considered worthy to gain that other world and that future age and to attain to the resurrection from the dead, neither marry or given into marriage. Verse 36. For they cannot die again, but they are angel-like and equal to angels, and being sons of the sharer in the resurrection, they are sons of God. Verse 37. But then the dead are raised from death. Even Moses made known and showed in the passage concerning the burning bush, where he called the Lord, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. These words are found in Exodus 3:6. Now we go to verse 38. Now he is not the God of the dead, but of the living. For to him all men are alive, whether they are in the body or out of the body, and they are alive, not dead, unto him. What they're saying is, when someone dies, they are alive to God, because the soul cannot die. I go to verse 39. And some of the scribes replied, Teacher, you have spoken well and expertly, so that there is no room for blame. Verse 40. For they did not dare to question him further, but he asked them, How can people say that the Christ, the Messiah, the Anointed One, is David's son? Verse 42. Because David himself said in the book of Psalms, The Lord said to my Lord, Sit at my right hand until I make your enemies thy footstool for your feet. These words are also found in Psalms 110, verses 1. Now I'm going to verse 44. So David called him Lord. How then is he David's son? And with all the people listening, He said to his disciples, "Beware of the scribes who like to walk about in long robes and love to be saluted with honor in places where people congregate and love the front best seats in the synagogue and places of distinction at feasts." Verse 47. Who make away with devour widows' houses to cover it up with pretense, make long prayers. They will receive a greater condemnation. The heavier sentence the server punish will be.